light of God, eternal innocence of love. Accept in this moment, merely accepting that the innocence is what you have always been. Innocent, light, beauty, perfection, eternal. Accepting into your heart and resting. Allowing the mind to rest, let go. Resting in love. Resting in innocence. And as you rest in innocence, the willingness to accept that there is nothing to do, nothing to become, nothing to figure out, only a letting go of a perception, an idea, an identity of limitation, an identity that believes itself to be separate. But accepting in this moment wholeness and innocence. In this moment, the willingness, finding that willingness of the heart to release all you thought you knew about this day, all that you thought you knew about what anything meant, what anything was supposed to look like, conclusions, outcomes. And stepping into trusting that in the perfect harmony of love, all is divinely unfolding. Accepting. And as you surrender this day, the willingness to surrender the past and all that you thought you knew about it. All the ways that you've held yourself as a past identification. Surrendering. Allowing. And in letting go of the past, the willingness to put the future into the hands of God. Releasing the future from all beliefs of the past. And just resting. Resting and allowing. And breathing. And as you rest, the willingness to surrender all that you thought you knew about humanity. Every beloved that has walked with you in this journey of remembering. The willingness to surrender all identities into the hands of love. The willingness. Opening the heart in this moment. That you are willing to see the beauty and perfection in every beloved, all of humanity. every thought, every conclusion of knowing what or who somebody was, the willingness to surrender them and want to see through the heart the innocence, perfection of every beloved. And now beginning to breathe deeply and fully, allowing the breath to be invited to enter into every cell. And look back on this day and look to see where you were breathing and where you were holding because the mind was occupied. Just breathing fully and deeply, breathing through the nose, inviting in all peace, all tranquility, and on the out-breath, releasing all opinions and thoughts about what anything meant today. And breathing into union, the willingness to breathe with all of humanity, the sacred breath. And as you breathe, relaxing, letting go, and yet staying present, aware of this moment and being this moment. And if the mind is tempted to wander, just coming back to this moment, coming down into the heart and breathing, opening to the divine union of oneness, not a concept, not a knowing, just a yes. Breathing, allowing. And as you continue to breathe, breathing into the throat, inviting the throat to open, willing to receive, relax, letting go of the neck, and noticing if there's been anything held there today, and letting it all go. And breathing deeply into the shoulders, arms, and hands, letting everything go, and yet staying present, staying aware of this moment. And breathing into the spine, allowing the spine to be the liquid of love. Fluid movement, surrendering the spine into the hands of God, willing for the spine to be used for love. Breathing. Breathing into the heart, inviting the heart to come forward, open and available, undefended, willing for the heart to be exposed, willingness to surrender all perceptions of the need for barriers, any need for protection surrendered in this moment. And breathing into the belly, surrendering all the organs into the hands of God, willing for all the organs to be used by love. Breathing Breathing into the hips and thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, all being breathed, being brought into aliveness, love. Breathing. And breathing into the emotional body. And surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God, to the hands of love. No longer willing to have the mind run the emotional body. No longer willing to have the emotional body be filled with concern and doubt, anger, worry, and fear. But willing for the emotional body to express the truth of oneness, contentment and joy, and peace and harmony, compassion. Everything surrendered, open to love, as love and with love. Breathing. Breathing into this moment and affirming that here, in the infinite circle of love, we are one. One heart and one breath. The sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love. Only love exists, and everything else will melt away. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God, and within this life force we live and move and breathe as one. Breathing. So allow this prayer to permeate into your heart in the recognition of divine healing that is available in every moment, just with your yes. The yes of the heart that is willing to follow, to be led, and to see through the heart itself. And the willingness that love will lead all those who are willing. Many hands are appearing to aid your work. Many hands are appearing to give your heart a chance to be set free, a chance to be set free. Many hands are appearing to aid your life. Many hands are appearing to give your life a chance to learn the way of love, to learn the way of love. Many hands are appearing to help your voice. Many hands are appearing to help your voice to sing, to be heard around the world, to be heard around the world. Many hands are returning to join you now. Many hands are returning to give your life a chance to be revealed, a chance to be revealed. Many hopes are returning, so feel the pulse. Many hopes are returning, so feel the pulse of love that circles round the world, that circles round the world. Many hopes are returning to feel the life. Many hopes are returning to feel the love we give to each who chooses here, to each who chooses here. Many hearts are returning to feel the love. Many hearts are returning to feel the love within that circles round the world, that circles round the world. The divine alchemy of love's healing, the divine pulse of love is constantly wanting to lead you, is constantly wanting to help. And all that is helpful is your yes. Show me the way. Allow your prayer to be in your heart all day long, inviting, inviting, inviting. Letting go of the mind, letting go of what you think you know, and be willing to be shown the way. Always divine love in the form of beings seen and unseen are wanting to serve your remembering. And it's just that willingness to step back, to just step back, just in your heart, stepping back and letting love lead. Letting the guidance of love show you the way. Every moment can be lived in this divine orchestration and this divine guidance. There isn't a moment that love isn't wanting to serve. There isn't a moment that the voice of love can be heard, that the recognition that you are following opens the door, allowing. I saw a great radiance. I saw a fountain of knowledge, and I drank of her water, and she gave me the strength to walk in this world. In this river of God I've put myself to navigate. I took her boat, and I encountered the Holy Grail. I heard her voice, her song, said to me, whoever drinks from this chalice has a path to uncover. I heard her voice, I heard her song. Whoever drinks of this chalice has a secret to uncover. Praise in the heights to the divine power of love. It is all that exists, all that is true, only love. Eu vi grande clarão, vi fonte do saber. Eu bebi da sua água, me deu a força para vencer. nesse rio de Deus eu me pus em navegar. Eu tomei a sua barco agral, sagrado eu encontrar. Ouvi a sua voz, é o seu canto eu me dizer. Quem bebe nesse cálice tem caminho repercorrer. Hosana nas alturas, é quem deu esse poder. São santas palavras, benditos e natureza esse poder. I saw a great radiance, I saw a fountain of knowledge, and I drank of her water. And this divine being gave me the strength to walk in this world and remember the truth of love. These divine beings, seen and unseen, drink from that well, drink from the chalice of the truth all day long, drinking from the chalice of the truth and no longer wanting to believe the beliefs of limitation and separation. No longer willing in any way to believe what seems to be a continuous tape that runs and runs and runs, wanting your attention, wanting to be in control in some way. Healing is remembering. And healing is the willingness to recognize there is nothing to control, but just the willingness to be present and let love unfold. The ease of healing is through trust. Trusting is the willingness to let go of what you know. In the world, everyone is trusting something. You have trusted that you knew who you were. You have trusted that your identity was already decided, that you know your identity. But that identity that is temporary and filled with the belief of difficulty is not your identity at all. And the only way of truly letting go is to recognize that as you shift your trust from what you've known in the past and beginning to trust the divine calling of every sacred teaching, putting your trust in the masters and teachers that have been sent to you, and opening to all divine beings that are always serving love, always serving harmony and peace. It's not possible that it's serving anything else. It's all that it is. All divine beings are love, coming into an element of form, an element of spirit, so that you can more readily recognize love and step out of the world of the belief of limitation. I saw a great radiance, and I drank of her water. The water that you are drinking of is the water of love, the water of truth that is in every sacred teaching. To drink that water is to find your nourishment, to drink from the well, to recognize that you are thirsty and you have been walking in the desert and now you want to drink. You want to drink and drink and drink until your thirst is quenched and you melt into oneness. You want to follow. I took her boat. I took her boat is really saying, I stepped out of my own knowing and stepped into the boat of love and let it go down the river. This is the same teaching as inviting you to get into the sidecar and letting God drive. When you're in the sidecar, you're trusting. You're trusting that there's a way that God is taking you, and you can trust that because God, all that is, the universe, is all love. And you're putting your faith there. Instead of, I need to control, I need to know. Letting that go. And allowing to be the passenger in the journey and just keep showing up. And that you don't even have to have a road map. The map is in the hands of God. In every sacred teaching, that map will show itself to you. It will unlock all the mysteries. It will unlock all the ways that are most helpful as you follow. Allowing. So as the beloved who is known as Hafiz offers love, remembering again that this beloved that was known as Hafiz walked in this world in the 1300s, and nothing has altered from the truth. Whether it was in the beginning of time, the middle of time, or now, all it's the same. It's all the same. It's the same love, the same teaching, the same offering. Love doesn't change. Losing identity is a golden gun. It was not easy to hold it against my head and fire. I needed great faith in my master to suffocate myself with his holy bag full of truth. I needed great courage to go out into the dark, tracking God into the unknown, and not panic or get lost in all the startling new senses, sounds, and sights. Or lose my temper tripping on those scheming night and day around me. Losing identity is the emerald dagger you need to plunge deep into yourself upon this path to divine recovery, upon this path to God. It's a golden gun. It's the willingness to accept the gun and the wanting to put it to your head and blow out what you think you know. It's Hafiz is offering this calling. I needed great faith in my master to suffocate myself with his holy bag full of truth. Yes, to suffocate yourself with the holy truth. To actually want to be suffocated by the truth. To want to drown in the holy truth. To want to be devoured by the truth. To leave nothing in any way except the holy truth. Because it's who you are. What you would be suffocating is a false identity. But willing to follow the Divine Master into that yes. Having the prayer in your heart, I willingly give it all. In every moment. I needed great courage to go out into the dark, tracking God into the unknown. Where does this courage come from? This courage comes from the willingness. It comes from, I don't want anything else. And I am putting my faith and my trust that there is only eternal life. That everything is of love and eternal. Not what I know of it, but what is promised. The courage to walk into the dark, or what seems to be the dark, because you don't know where you're going. I've often used a vision of this for beloveds to be taken down into the cave. And it's all dark in the cave, but there's a hand waiting for you that has the light and is leading you if you're willing to be led. The courage is just to stop listening to the mind, listening to the voice of fear, listening to the voice of battle, caution, suspicion, and to embrace the voice of love, the call to love, the yes to love. Losing identity is the emerald dagger you need to plunge deep into yourself upon this path to divine recovery. It is really essential to recognize that you are not becoming a new person, but that you are recovering from a nightmare, a belief of separation, a belief of lack, a belief of hatred, into the truth of love. That's what the recovery is. You're recovering from a nightmare. You're recovering from a false identity. You aren't getting something from the outside. You already are all of love. You are the divine. Not in any concept that you could imagine, but in the truth within your heart. And as the costumes fall away, as the facades fall away, and all that you think you know, more and more of your divine self is recognized as peace and harmony, joy, love itself. There is a word there is a word that isn't used very much in the world because so little is known about it in the world, because the world believes in fear and limitation. And that is grace. Grace. Grace is the love of God. Grace is love. And grace is a natural state to be walking in. But it has to be accepted. It has to be accepted and affirmed all the time, every moment. I am in the grace of love. I am that love, and grace is my natural state. And the willingness to accept a life of grace. A life of grace that you look toward the future with peace and harmony and trust, affirming that grace is flowing. But grace can't be recognized. It can't be melted into when there is knowing and when there is the belief that you have to control outcomes and control situations and control what you believe needs to happen. It's not possible. Grace flows. The belief of control is fear, and it doesn't flow at all. It strangles. It screams danger, suspicion, difficulty. It's always a choice. You have a choice in every moment between fear and love. Fear isn't just being frightened, like having the emotion of being frightened. Fear is the lack of love. Fear is hatred. Fear is anger. Fear is resentment. Fear is irritation. Fear is the need to control. The ego, the false identity, is a shape changer. And the ego is fear. It's a false identity. It's the belief of separation, the belief of pain and suffering. But it doesn't show itself obviously all the time. Fear plays a game with success, plays a game with getting, plays a game with comparisons, plays a game with trying to win, trying to prove that you're right. These are the games of fear. Because if you saw fear so obviously, you wouldn't buy it for a very long time. So it uses different strategies, different costumes to pretend that there is something good that is going to come out of it. the belief in winning is believed to be good, and the belief in losing is believed to be bad, as if there is winning or losing. These are completely made-up states. These have no truth. How can the divine, complete perfection of all that is win or lose when everything is already perfection? If you are holding the truth in your heart, that you have nothing to win and nothing to lose, the ego doesn't have anything to hang on to. There's a beautiful teaching of Yogananda that I've used often that says, when the guest is no longer welcome, the guest will leave. That guest is the ego. The guest is the ego, and when it is no longer played with, when it is no longer worshipped, when it is no longer idolized, it disappears because there's no hook, there's no grab, there's no wanting it anymore. But can you surrender the belief of winning and losing? Just that. And even that has disguises. Winning and losing. So you think of winning as someone who is ruthless, possibly, or a go-getter, or really pushing for something. There's more subtle layers of winning or losing. It's the belief that there is something to win, that you actually will gain something from winning something. But this takes incredible trust. This is the courage to go out into the dark and track God into the unknown. Not having any more winning and losing. To give up that identity, to surrender that identity. Is it an identity? Absolutely. You have been programmed with all of humanity to winning is good, losing is bad. And you must win. And every beloved has their own story about what winning and losing is, but it's all wrapped around in the belief that you are a body. Mm. Because there is no winning or losing except to placate the identity as being a body. And this is all the temporary. Is it possible to live your life without the battle of winning and losing? Absolutely. It's freedom. It's peace. It's harmony. What holds the belief of winning and losing in place is the belief of scarcity. The belief that there is not enough permeates into every element of the belief of separation. There is not enough love. That is the belief. That's not the belief that you would say, oh yes, I believe there's not enough love. No, you wouldn't say that because the identity, the belief system hides unconscious, in the unconscious, so you don't know what's running. And yet, that belief of winning and losing is being perceived everywhere. If there was no belief in winning and losing, there would be nothing to compare. All comparisons come from the belief of winning and losing. But you are whole and complete. But how can you accept that you are whole and complete unless you're willing to step away from and to relinquish ownership of the belief of winning and losing? From all beliefs of winning and losing comes pain and suffering. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Because the belief is there is not enough. Scarcity. Scarcity is a principle within the world. Everything is based on scarcity. I don't have enough. Mm-hmm. Within every beloved that is walking in the third dimension that has not awakened to the truth of oneness, every beloved is walking in that scarcity principle. And that scarcity principle says, there is something missing within me. There is an emptiness that I find that is not really in the conscious awareness, but it is what propels everyone to try to get something outside. Everything that is looked for outside is coming from that belief that there is something missing, that you are not whole, and that in that missing place where you perceive yourself to be alone, without, somewhat empty, is the urge, the drive to get and try to fill that emptiness. Except, as the song says, everyone is looking for love in all the wrong places. The love is already here. You're just afraid of coming home here. And then everything melts together. Because there is no separation. What you see in the world as separate bodies, as separate identities, is all part of that belief of scarcity, the belief of emptiness. How many times in the belief of comparisons have you looked at others and thought that someone had something that you didn't have? And sometimes it's not even, doesn't come into a real consciousness, because then you would be filled with shame and guilt for having jealousy and envy, so it just stays just back far enough that you can't really find it, tell what it is. Don't know what it is. This is the relationship with comparisons, the constant belief that there is something to compare to all day long. Mm. You can be actually comparing and not even be aware of it. Comparing everything. Is this enough? Is this enough? Is this as good as this? Is this as good as this? Every time you have a like or a dislike and an evaluation, you are making a comparison. And you are evaluating everything by a standard of worth that you are giving it from what you know of the past. of the belief of separation. In truth, everything is in complete equality. Complete equality. There is nothing that has more worth than something else, because everything is truly love. Not what you've made out of it, not the form that you've given it, not the value that you've given it, not the degree that you have given it, not the standard that you've given it, but everything is love. Underneath your concept of what you have made out of it. In agreement, for sure. If everyone has made an agreement that a sofa is more valuable than a chair, then that is what you hold to it. If you believe that gold is worth more than a rock, that is because everyone has agreed that this is the value system that we have made to keep promoting that some have and some don't, and some things are worth more than other things. Everything has been given value. When you begin to allow the unraveling of the scarcity principle, which includes comparisons, likes and dislikes, good and bad, right and wrong, the whole world begins to unravel, because your system is no longer held in such firm beliefs. To question the value that you place on everything and the comparisons is to question your life. Mm-hmm. It's to question all of the agreements. When you have a family who says, we come from a particular region and we come from a certain economic standard, and we come from a certain education standard, and we come from all of these different agreements of value. These are the agreements. And then everybody splits into all these little pods of different agreements, but they're all the same. Mm. They're all the same agreement of the belief of scarcity. The belief that there is not enough. If one has more, and you see in comparison that one has more than someone else, you are seeing through a value system that is completely made up. You are judging and putting on every beloved an identity of agreement that says you are that because of the evidence that I have of you and the evidence of the world. And it's all made up, and it holds every beloved in the belief of limitation. You can't open your heart into oneness and hold a value system of comparisons and limitations and right and wrong and good and bad and more and less. You can't hold that and remember the truth of oneness. So when Hafiz is asking you to let go of losing identity, to lose identity, it is to let go of what you have made up in the belief of comparisons, the belief of winning and losing, right and wrong, good and bad, more and less. All these degrees and levels, they're all held within the belief of time. And yet, in love, love is timeless. Love is without limitation. Love is not linear. Love is all-encompassing. Love is all that there is. So all of this agreement, this world of scarcity is being promoted. It's being used to prove that you're right. But how can you step out of this? How can you surrender this agreement, this belief system, this belief in scarcity, this belief in lack? It's the willingness. It's the willingness to question what you think you know. All day long, beloveds are walking in a knowing. I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. It's not like you're thinking, I know this, I know this, I know this. It's just thinking all day long, evaluating, judging, comparing. Imagine just an hour without comparisons. When you go into the closet in the morning to put clothes on, if you are not surrendered and wanting just to be shown what would be most helpful to wear, just what would be most helpful to serve love. But instead you go into the closet in the habit and say, what do I like? What will make me feel better today? What will prove my worth today? What will agree with comparisons? Let me compare what I have over here with what I have over here. I will compare them into what I'm going to wear. You're already in comparisons, judging one to be different than the other, when they're all the same. It's all love, but you can't see the love because you've given it identity. You've given it meaning. You've given it a world. But in that world, this is not about sacrifice. This is not about losing something. This is about freedom. This is about opening to love and seeing the love that is under that screen that you're seeing through, that lens that you're seeing through and believing in, and seeing the divine. Imagine that everything in this world is the truth of God. Can you look at each thing that you have made into a separate item and be willing for it to melt back into God, and that there is a life force and a living being, a beingness within everything? One of the great gifts that I was given was walking within a shamanic path and opening to all of the elements of life. The first time I was being taken into an initiation, and I was taken into a river, and I was held under the water, and I was terrified, but I was willing, and I let go in that water, and all of a sudden I began hearing the voice, and I could see the divine being that was the water. Just for a moment, I heard the voice of love that was the water. I heard the divine beings that served the water. that we're still part of the water. This cannot be understood with the mind. This is to go beyond the mind and to open to the divine. But if you're picking up a glass and you're drinking water and your mind is someplace else, and you're not aware that this is a communion, this is a holy communion of divine beingness with everything. Does the ego like this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, this is boring. This takes too much time. I don't like this. I like my mind. I like thinking. I like planning. I like comparing. I like making decisions on my own. I love likes and dislikes. Except when I get scared. And then I can't figure out why I'm scared. I can't figure out why I'm so disturbed all the time and so discontent and so irritated, upset, unnerved by the world and all of its constant movements and changes, and I can't control everything enough. It is imperative in the spiritual journey of remembering to recognize cause and effect. To recognize where the upset and the pain and the frustration and the disturbance is actually coming from. It isn't coming from the outside of the world. It is coming from the belief that you have likes and dislikes and values and differences and comparisons and scarcity. That's where the upset is coming from, because it's a fearful place. It's a place where you can't ever really rest, because you have to keep on top of it. You have to keep figuring it out. There's a beautiful teaching about judgment. To recognize that judgment, which is everything, opinions, comparisons, it's all judgment. Judgment isn't just, I am judging you as horrible. Judgment is just opinions. I am judging this to be that. I have decided that this is what that is. Judgment is where all pain comes from. The knowing, the judgment of what you believe something is in separation. If you're judging all day, you are extremely weary. There is a weariness from judgment that has nothing to do with the physical body in and of itself. It is a spirit weariness. A weariness, a tiredness that is from the pain of judgment all day, the disturbance of judgment all day. But how can you step out of judgment? The willingness. That's all that it is willingness. All day, yeah. And why is it all day? Because this is your schoolroom. It isn't, when I get home, I'll consider not judging. Or when I have time, I'll consider not judging. When I have some quiet time, I'll consider not judging. But your schoolroom is all day long. Your schoolroom is 24/7, because this is the world that you made in the belief of separation. This is not an indictment. It's a doorway. It's a doorway to recognizing that your belief in pain and suffering is directly caused by the belief in judgment, the belief of the need of control, the belief that there are degrees and levels and things to compare. If everything is love, what could you possibly compare? Now, the senses are all the property of the ego. What you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel, what you hear, everything is being used through the senses to compare, constantly to compare, and to evaluate, and to know. But can you surrender, and will you surrender your senses into the hands of God to be used for love? That you don't want to smell anything anymore without recognizing the holiness of God. That everything is the holiness of God. That you don't want to hear anything anymore except the words of love, the words of the truth of love. Not that everything has to be coming from a sacred teaching, but that you're no longer willing to evaluate what someone else is saying by whether you like it or you dislike it, by whether you agree or you disagree, or whether you find it irritating or whether you find it acceptable, or whether you like it or you don't like it, or that it means something about you. That's one of the favorites of the ego. The identity of narcissism says everything is about me. So everything that's coming in through the senses is being judged as, what does it mean about me? What does it mean for me? Do I like this smell? Do I not like this smell? Do I like what I'm seeing? Do I like that dress? Do I not like that dress? Is a judgment of, I believe I'm seeing something through the eyes that is separate, and I am evaluating it all day. And this is where the fear grows and grows, because the projection of the unworthiness from within is being projected out and being reflected back. That's all that you're seeing on the outside, is what you believe. What you believe is out there in your vision, and you're seeing it back, or you're hearing it back, or you're smelling it back, or you're tasting it back. And everything becomes an evaluation based on what you believe about yourself. One of the funniest things that humanity does is rage sometimes about not wanting to be judged. And being very upset when someone is judging them. But the funniest thing is that you are judging them for judging you. And you believe that they are judging you because you believe it about yourself. When we are suspicious of someone else, checking out what they're saying to us, we are judging based on what we believe about ourselves, and this is all that we have, and we're basing everyone in that same judgment. You believe that you're seeing all these different beloveds, and that they all have a different identity and a different makeup and a different story. Every single thing that you're seeing outside you is what you believe about yourself, and which is just separation, because you're seeing everyone as a separate self. through an evaluation. Do you want to see, do you want to embrace the wholeness, the holiness, that oneness that is so all-encompassing and all that is true? Then it's to begin to let go of evaluations and identities that you have given to everyone and beliefs that you know who they are. Are you willing to see the divine? Imagine that you had no more relationship with age. What if no one was young or old anymore? What if no one was short or tall anymore? What if no one was more physically agile or not? What if someone was no longer perceived to have a different dialect or a different education coming through their words that they're using? All of this judgment, all of this evaluation, all of it is keeping everyone in the belief of separation. It isn't that the evaluation is keeping you there, it's your evaluation. It's to recognize that while you evaluate and while you judge, you are deciding for your little world. In that decision, you're saying unconsciously, I don't want to see oneness. I don't want to melt into oneness. I want my world. I want it like I like it. But when we bring this into consciousness, that's when the healing begins to occur. When you no longer are willing to hold that these judgments, opinions, evaluations have worth. I have given the world all the meaning that it has. If this is the divine truth in the belief of separation, if this is a doorway home, all of the evaluation, everything, it's all just meaning that you've given it all day long. And it is the cause of your belief that you are separate. It's right there. It's right there. You don't have to go looking for it someplace else. You can't go looking for it someplace else. The healing is right here in your choice. You have the power. You have the choice. You're not a victim of the world. The world is not happening to you. It is your story. Mm-hmm. It is your play of your beliefs. And when you begin to surrender what you think you know, what you believe in, evaluations, judgments, opinions, and you allow yourself to step back. Show me the way. Show me the way. I don't know how to walk in this world. All of love comes to serve, to show you a new way, to walk without opinions, to want to see the beloved, the divine, in everything and in everyone, to no longer want to have a veil made of perceptions covering the heart, but truly wanting to remember. And the only thing that is seemingly standing in the way of remembering is a veil that is self-made. It wasn't done to you. It was self-made in all agreement. You are whole, you are complete, you are the divine. Not the you that you think you are, but the wholeness, the divine I, the I am, the innocence, the light. The grace of healing, the willingness to step into that river and flow, to open to grace, is to live in a constant blessing, because there is only love, there is only grace, there is only constant blessings. And the healing of this is not about judging the judgment. It is not about you figuring out what the judgment is, but the willingness to surrender. Show me a new way. I don't know. I don't know how to walk in this world without judging. That can be your prayer. I don't know, but please show me. And the willingness to question. What is this for? What am I making up here in this moment that is not the truth of love? What statement am I making? When you begin to offer this love to all beloveds, that is when the divine alchemy of love can begin to transform what you are offering. You are not healing on your own. You are stepping into the divine alchemy of love's healing and surrendering what you think you know. Questioning. Not questioning with the mind and figuring it out, but willing to shine the light on what was automatic. To step out of the trance of the automatic. All day long you can be on autopilot. It's really easy. Habit is easy because that's what habits are. They let you be in a trance and just walk through the day. The mind is actually controlling everything. There's thinking going on all the time, but you're not really aware of the thinking that's going on all the time. It's just running. It's kind of back here someplace, and it's running, and you're in a trance. But all the while that you're in this trance, there's judgment going on, and assessment, and opinions, and evaluations. And this is all in order to stay defended, because you believe that there is something to protect yourself from. You have believed it. Everyone in humanity has the same agreement of we have to protect ourselves. The world is a cruel and dangerous place, and we are temporary, and we can be hurt. This is the lie. And in healing, in the yes, you take that leap of faith and you refuse anymore to be defended in any way. When the temptation comes and the willingness to pay attention in the moment, to actually pay attention is to be present, is to want to be present instead of thinking about what's going to happen 10 minutes from now, or half an hour from now, an hour from now, 2 minutes from now. It doesn't matter. That is where the trance stays, is thinking about the future based on the past, all moving like this in your knowing. But when you bring yourself and your attention to being present, really being here, then you can begin to notice what's running. Wow, look at that. And at a certain point in healing, there is an awareness of, whoa, all of this stuff that is coming through is really insane. And you begin to see it for the insanity that it is. Not an indictment, but just insane because it's not love. It's just made up. And that willingness to invite the divine alchemy in and be shown what's in the way, that you're willing to stay present and see the made up story that keeps playing out over and over and over again. When you are believing in your past, in the identity, and you are living there, how is it possible that you're living in the past? Everything that you think you know is coming from the past. It has no place else to come from. It's your past. And as you think you know it, you are projecting it into the future. And then you get very frightened because you were frightened in the past, and now you're frightened of the future because you think it's going to be like the past, because you're making it just like the past. You're making the future exactly like your past because you have nowhere else to glean from, to draw from. But when you surrender, I am willing to follow. I am willing for the divine light of love to create. And I am willing to step into that creation of an unfolding of love and trusting that I don't know what it's going to look like, but it is the divine orchestration of God. And I am willing for it to live in that grace without any knowing. I'm willing that when the phone rings, it is God calling. When I am making a phone call, I'm calling God. And I won't make a phone call unless it is most helpful. And I am ready to express love and be in my heart and offer to whoever it is my attention, my yes, and my undefended heart. And not my knowing, not my assessment, not my judgment, not my opinions, but the willingness to let the divine flow through and allow the grace of God to be present, because that's all that is present. That's the choice. In every moment, that is your schoolroom. It isn't, you don't have a schoolroom that's a part-time place. It's bringing love into every moment in your life and letting love lead and blessing and allowing that you want to see the truth of every beloved, and you want to see the divine everywhere and in everything until it all melts together. And love is just the sparkling light of beauty and perfection in every moment, where you no longer see through evaluations and comparisons and judgments and degrees and time. I use this teaching often, and it was in the journey of remembering an element that was so powerful that it became a completely present awareness that there was no knowing of what anyone's journey should look like, ever. How it should move, how it should unfold, what anything meant in someone's journey, no evaluations of good, bad, poor, rich. It didn't matter what it was, that no one, and there was no awareness of what anyone's journey should look like, including this journey, because it was all the same. And it was all letting go and trusting that there was a divine orchestration and a divine alchemy that was available for every beloved's journey, that no one was without, but that the only way that they were not able to move easily and freely in their journey of remembering was if this beloved was holding them in limitation and separation and evaluating and judging and wanting something to be a certain way and trying to manipulate anyone's journey just through thought. Didn't have to be grabbing them and moving them around. It was just through thought, just through judgment. And that the recognition of the heart, that in the truth of your heart you don't want to impede anything. You don't want to restrict or limit anything, but to allow the divine grace of love to move freely without restrictions, to get into that sidecar and let God drive. And not listen to the voice of concern, not to listen to the screaming mimes of the ego that keep saying, I want to know, I want to control, I want to have it my way, I want to be right. It's all fear. It's just all fear. See it for what it is. It isn't power. It has no power. It's weakness. It's the belief of weakness. The belief that there is danger. The belief that there is disturbance. The belief that there is a battle going on. And that you can be hurt, and that you are limited, and that you are a body that is going to die, and you have to protect yourself. When there is nothing to protect, nothing to defend. And trusting, trusting in that divine grace, the divine light, the divine love. In this moment, if there is a question.
I have a question.
Yes, my darling.
I'm at a point in my own journey where I'm able to see my own insanity more and more.
What a blessing.
Yeah, it is a blessing. And so, as part of that, I feel more peaceful, more compassionate. And I'm able to be that way more with other people too, because I perceive other people, since it's still my perception, but I do perceive this world as being pretty crazy. But what I'm having a problem with is the more I see this, there's a sadness that I feel in letting go. It has to be an ego, that sadness, in letting go of that dream that I had, or that illusion that I had. I don't know how to deal with that sadness.
What does the sadness say?
It doesn't say anything. It's let's see, what does it say? It says, I'm bored. That's one. I'm bored. So empty. It's like
Yeah, bored is
bored.
spot on.
Yeah. Okay, so that's enough. Huh? Okay.
You're in a withdrawal. This is the same sadness that if you were addicted to heroin,
Mm-hmm.
because this is all addiction.
Yeah.
It's an addiction to a false identity and a false world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at a heroin addict, there is a point in that letting go when they're in recovery that they will have a sense of loss
Mm-hmm.
because of the relationship that they've had with this God that they've made.
That's coming from the ego.
God with a small g.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense of loss is a sadness. That's how it shows up. As if you are letting go of something that has been real for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a split, which is part of the healing. So you're just recognizing that the boredom that it's saying I'm afraid of boredom, because the addiction is the addiction not only, yes, it's the addiction of the world, but this is an addiction to pleasure.
Yeah.
It's the high.
Yeah, because it's not that I haven't got things to do.
No, it
It's
doesn't
not
have
that.
It's
And
not,
it's also ironic because I never felt more peace or joy in my life at the same time.
no,
And
that's
so how can I feel sad?
because the belief in boredom, the ego loves this because it's actually visceral.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship to pleasure, the seeking of pleasure,
Yeah.
is an addiction. It is a constant seeking to get something to fill a space, that belief of unworthiness, that belief of aloneness. It's, if you see pleasure is always the trying to get away from pain, the being with yourself,
Yeah.
the being with yourself, and yet not having an awareness of the beauty and the perfection and the exquisiteness of the friend that is within.
Mm-hmm.
God, you.
Yeah.
And but the habit of the seeking of pleasure is like a withdrawal.
Yeah.
So you're experiencing, you're dropping into a sense of peace and a sense of joy, but there is still that withdrawal and the belief that it's boring.
Yeah.
One of Jose said to me one time, just casually walking, he said, "I promise you'll never be bored."
Mm-hmm.
And I at the time, because I was not in any way available for the truth, complete, the awareness. I believed he meant at that time, because I thought I knew something, that it meant that I would stay busy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But what he was really saying is to go through that perception of boredom, because in the truth of peace and tranquility and harmony and joy, it isn't boredom at all. But that's the equation, because there's no seeking anymore. There's no getting anymore. There's no winning anymore. There's no battle between losing and winning. And it's a life that you believed in. It's a life that you lived.
Well, my pleasure points are gradually reducing. I used to be addicted to going to the ocean every few months, or I couldn't even look at myself. Now, if I go, I go. If I don't, I don't. That's a big, for me, it was a big letting go. But it's just an example of a lot of things that are no longer. Yeah.
So it's like this. A beloved asked me today about. Do you have to find the right job, or do you have to, how do you find that the right thing? I said it has nothing to do with the form of it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with the intention of what it's being used for. So and it's not just a job, it's everything. If you're going to a movie and you're there to try to get something, and to try to quench that place, that pleasure place that you feel better because you're trying to get away from something, and this is going to give you a spark, a burst, or whatever. That's the addiction.
Still addicted to that one.
That's probably why I saw that one.
Right.
And yet, to go to a movie, and this cannot be understood, but you can go to a movie and be in love and be present in that moment, and everything is delicious. But it's not a getting, it's a joining. It's a place of union. And you just happen to be called to be within that form, and you don't know all the pieces and parts of that purpose. But you're there to serve love. You're there to offer love. You are there to open to the love that is that moment. And it's all wholeness and complete. But it doesn't have more value than washing the dishes. It does to the mind. It does to the identity of more and less, and winning and losing, and evaluations. Doing the dishes has much less value than going to the movies. And this is the cause of pain. Let's use the example for a moment of you're called to exercise. And you have an opinion about what that means. You have a whole story about that relationship, of what that means to you. You've given it all the meaning that it has. Good, bad, it doesn't even matter. It's giving it an evaluation rather than this is an expression of love. And it's perfect, and it's complete, and it's not more or less than anything else.
You helped me with that a while ago.
Yeah.
I was exercising out of fear, and I go to the gym and service. Most of the
But it's
time.
with everything.
Yeah.
But that's also what's coming up, is that it's losing your relationship to even the battle is dropping away.
Right.
Because there's a battle in the like and the dislike. Oh, this is good, this is bad, this was better last time, this should be better next time, whatever. It's all pain and suffering. And so it is like an addict that is lamenting what their old relationship.
Yeah.
And romanticizing it to a certain extent. And feeling bored because they don't have that high, because they don't have that hunt, and even the adrenaline of the danger, or the adrenaline. It doesn't matter. It's all that pain and suffering in all of its different ways, and it looks like it's boring.
Well, bring it to the light, I think.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, my love. reminded of the hymn, the teaching that says, I have cried a lot and have lamented everything of the past. Now I'm going to go and live among the flowers with my Blessed Mother.
Hopefully.
And let go of the lamenting and the sense of loss and the sense of being without. But the release of the belief of getting from the outside is essential. The belief that you have to get pleasure to get away from pain is essential. It's to let go of that addiction to the pleasure, no matter what form it comes in, and to really turn toward the belief of the pain and face the pain and see it for what it truly is, that it's smoke and mirrors. It's your identity that you're trying to get away from. It's your made-up identity that you're trying to get away from, and it's the self-hatred because you believe that you're separated from God and that you deserve punishment in some way. That self-hatred is what has to be faced, not to live in it,
Right.
but to see its disguises and to see its untruth and to
So
see
facing the
its
pain would be the misidentification of thinking of who I am, of thinking I'm separate from God. That's the pain.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. In this moment, allow your heart to find its devotion, to find its commitment, to no longer wanting a separate world. And that this commitment, this devotion is self-love. It is the returning to love because you're no longer willing to live in that revolving pain and suffering and seeking pleasure to try to get away from a pain that is false, is illusion. And the willingness to shine the light on all beliefs, illusions of separation. And you can bring this yes, and this yes is needed all throughout the day to what you truly want, to keep remembering what is it that you truly want. You want peace and harmony and joy and freedom, love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your dedication, that's your devotion. And remembering what you truly want all day until the trance shakes loose and no longer holds your attention in the same way. In this moment, as we close, affirming to use this holy moment to commune with every beloved as the divine.
Mm.
That as you step into this Holy Communion together, let your heart be open and let your mind fall away. And hold that sacred space for every beloved to allow the healing that is here right now. To recognize that every beloved is in their own healing, which is the healing union. And to hold that sacredly and in quietness, tenderness, openness. One heart, one holy breath, serving, remembering. In this moment, the willingness to open to the abundance of love in its expression, every moment having the opportunity to express abundance, the truth of love. And we gratefully accept the abundance in this moment, in all of its various expressions, including the expression of donations that serve this teaching, serve this path, holy